Welcome to Life Esteem, a program committed to delivering information that's important to you and your community. Your hosts are Nathaniel and Patricia Gadsden.
Hello and welcome again to Life Esteem. Always great to have you as a viewer. Hey, today we're going to talk about gambling and the serious side of it. And we have with us Stephen White, who's the Gambling Prevention Coordinator for Dauphin County and is rolling out a brand new program. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, real good. So tell us about this initiative, the Gambling Prevention Initiative of Dauphin County.
Basically, I would say back in July of 2011, I was presented with the opportunity to head the new gambling prevention program for Dauphin County. I think after about a year or two's worth of assessment that the administrator did there, they saw a need for this program within Dauphin County. So the idea was presented to me, and in September, I started writing a curriculum for middle school students. And since then, we've been trying to roll out and get the program started within the community.
Why was it important for middle school students? What's the thinking behind that?
I would say, most importantly, we wanted to start with the younger kids first.
Right.
Because with the older adults, it's more about gambling more responsibly and keeping that under control. But with the younger kids, it's just outright prevention. Shouldn't be happening because they're not of age.
Yeah,
so
right.
definitely, the younger we can get to them, the better it'll be in the future for them.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with that.
Now, you through some of your research and work, you found some statistics in regard to how young people gamble, or and that sometimes people don't perceive or think it's even an issue, that it's not something we need to be concerned about. Is that what you were discovering?
Oh yes, definitely. One of the biggest issues is that it is socially acceptable, especially within the United States. And the research that I found indicated that as high as 85% of young kids before they graduate high school have engaged in some form of gambling.
That high?
Yes, and then also we found between 4 and 6% of that 85 are problem gamblers. And another interesting statistic, they say on average about 3 million teens gamble in the U.S. every week.
3 million?
So those numbers are staggering, so we definitely want to reach out to the younger audience.
Well, when you say young people gambling, I know you think of adults, you think of lottery and stuff like that. How are young people gambling? What kind of forms are they engaging in?
Well, again, what my research indicated was there are younger kids that can have access to scratch-off tickets, and a lot of it is sports pools and things of that nature. You think of March Madness and all these other activities that are a little more readily available to students, and definitely something so simple as betting on high school basketball games.
Wow.
So, and a lot of it is they don't see it as gambling. They just think it's just a quick bet. So it's definitely an issue, and the point of this program is to really point out what defines gambling, and how can we address that.
So what is gambling then? So you just made the point that a lot of young people don't even appreciate or think of themselves gambling. What makes it gambling? If they think they're just making a bet, what's that?
Well, there's several, there's different interpretations on the definition of that, but for the program that we wrote, our definition of gambling is any time that something of value to you is wagered. You place a bet of anything that's of value to you, and what we want to get students to understand is that doesn't even have to be money. Anything that is valuable to you, if you bet an iPod, 3 weeks worth of chores, anything that's important to you is gambling. Something like that is risk.
Before we begin the tape, you had us laughing. You were talking about your recent visit to Atlantic City and how you just walked through a place and you just saw people there like almost in a zombie state.
Yeah, it was. It definitely hit home.
Yeah.
Was visiting with family down there, and just walking through the casino and to just see people sitting there for hours just pressing buttons. They literally had a blank stare on their face the whole time. And it just reaffirmed that, one, I don't want any parts of gambling really, because I don't want to turn into that, but definitely it was a good mental note for me to take back with the students and realize how bad it can be, because that's how an addiction can start.
It's how it can start. And we've all been down to those places, seen them, participated in the slots and all that kind of stuff. It can be fun for a minute, but for some people it becomes truly an addiction.
Yes.
And so with the long-term effects of the addiction can be what kind of things? In your research, what are you finding?
Obviously financial loss, and I think people think that financial loss is the only thing that makes it an addiction, but it affects every major aspect of your life, your work, definitely your family, your social life, and also that things like that affect the community.
Yeah.
Because I mean that affects how taxes are, and things of that nature, the crime rate. Because once you become addicted, just like with even drugs and alcohol, you'll do things that you wouldn't ordinarily do to get that feeling, and it literally becomes like almost a high when you're searching for that big win. So when you lose, you find yourself what we call chasing losses. So you're trying to make all that money back. So you might double your bet to do what you need to do to get that feeling. But the thing that people need to understand is that that big win that you're looking for isn't going to satisfy, because each time you're going to want more. So that's the point we really want to drive home with these young kids, that there's no such thing as really a big win, because you're always going to keep going after it once you have it.
Man, oh man.
And one of the things, I know you have a curriculum that you did pull together for specifically middle school students.
Yes.
And what is the theme of that, of that particular curriculum? Was the title? It's really nice, I think.
Well, Sherry Clouser, the prevention supervisor over at Dauphin County, came up with the name Too Much to Lose, 2M2L. Really, it's a really good program, and what we did was, like I said, over the past couple months, actually writing curriculum was something new for me, because over the last 2 years I've done work with the after school programs in Harrisburg and things of that nature, but this was my first time writing curriculum, so it required at least initially about 2 to 3 months worth of actual research before I even really started to write the meat of the program. And what I found was a lot of the information, unfortunately, a lot of it came from Canada. So there really isn't a lot of research in the United States, again, going back to the point that it's just more socially acceptable. So I just don't think when you compare it to drugs and alcohol, it's seen as a big issue. So I pulled all the information I had together and just spent time writing this curriculum. Did some run-throughs with the prevention specialists over there, tweaked some things, and finally, in about January, we had reached completion of the curriculum, and we actually did a training for community stakeholders and other providers that were going to go out and deliver this curriculum.
Okay.
And the curriculum itself, we have 6 sessions. So in the first session, what we talk about, again, we are defining gambling.
Okay.
So we give you a clear-cut definition of what that is. We look at the reasons why people gamble, especially why younger people might gamble, and the different types of gambling, things of that nature. Then moving forward to the second session, we start talking about addiction, because what we want people to understand, although this is a gambling and prevention program, this deals in so many ways with other addictions, and it relates to so many other things. So what we talk about in that second section is not only just gambling addiction, but how addictions are formed and how to go about, treating that problem.
Very good. Yeah.
So definitely driving that point home. Then in that third session, what we talk about, the consequences of gambling. Again, financial loss. So many things can go wrong. Like I said, sitting in a casino, 1 hour can turn into 6 before you know it. So we look at all the consequences of gambling. In the fourth session, as we start to get closer to home, recognizing problem gambling. Because some people, you could be living with a problem gambling, you might not ever know it, because the signs aren't always as obvious. As with drugs and alcohol, there's more physical things that you could see, but with a gambler, you may never know. And some people tend to think that somebody that's a problem gambler gambles every day. A problem gambler could gamble once a month. It's about what happens when they do it that one time in that month, that defines whether they're a problem gambler or not. And in the fifth session, we start talking about how to cope with somebody like that, or even if you have those issues, and where to get help. Again, the biggest issue in our community is people don't always know where to go to get help, and there's so many resources out there available, not just on the county or